Thank you, Mr. Ashwood. I came to inquire after your mother.
She is very well.
Excellent. And young Miss Margaret, your sister?
She's very well, thank you. Edward! I heard you announce.
Miss Marianne, how do you do?
Oh, I am unwell, but don't think of me, Edward. Eleanor is well, you see, and truly that is all that matters.
Does not London be with you?
I expected to find much pleasure here, but the sight of you is the only comfort it has afforded thus far. We had such a terrible, wretched day yesterday, Edward. I have so much to say to you, which cannot be said at the moment. Well, why aren't you there?
I'm afraid I was engaged elsewhere, ma'am.
Engaged elsewhere? When such friends were to be met?
Perhaps, Miss Marianne, you think that young men never keep any engagements at all.
Not so indeed. I'm sure he must have had something very important to do to keep him from us. Did you have some pressing previous obligation, Edward? I knew it! What could have kept you away?
Please do excuse me. I have an appointment to see a horse. Buy. I may buy the horse, if it is a good horse.
I'm afraid, Miss Dashwood, that I must also be on my way. Mr. Ferrars, if you would be so kind as to escort me as far as the park.
Why?
Miss Dashwood.
Yes. Miss Dashwood.
Could you not see that we wanted her gone? How teasing to Edward!
Why, we're all friends here. He's known Lucy the longest. I'm sure he was very happy to see her.
Eleanor, I cannot bear when you say things that we know are not true.
Miss Dashwood and Miss Marianne, have you heard the news at your sister's house? A scandal, a real scandal.
I cannot think what is taking Lucy so long at her toilet this morning. She must fix a ribbon on her hair, I suppose. After seeing mine, of course.
This ribbon suits you marvelously well. Pretty. Very pretty.
Oh, now you are going to make fun of me as well? Not because pink is the doctor's favorite color. It means that I wear it just to please him.
You and your bow is also diverting.
Oh, law.
But you mustn't keep all the young men for yourself. Surely you must leave some for your sister.
Trust me, ma'am. She gets more than enough attention.
Oh, pray tell.
Well, Lucy has a beau herself, though not a soul knows of it but me.
And how is that? You know that you and Lucy are part of this family, and I'm afraid that in this family we do not keep secrets. So I will ask you again, who is he and where does he reside?
Oh no, I mustn't tell.
I will ask you again, who is he and where does he reside?
Oh, aren't you wearing the most marvelous dress today?
Yes, but I will not be diverted so easily.
Well, I must tell you, ma'am, she is engaged.
And engaged!
To Mr. Edward Ferrars, your brother.
Myself, I have no notion of people's to-do about money and greatness. Miss Marianne, are you ill?
I'm afraid my sister's quite unwell. Please let me attend to her. Marianne, I knew. Has Edward told you? I have known the past 4 months. Lucy told me herself.
yourself and swore me to secrecy before you knew what I was promising.
How have you borne it?
What else was there to do?
For 4 months? And yet, you do love him.
Yes, but I do not love only him. And I'm glad to spare my family for my happiness.
But he's enraged to that creature.
People make mistakes, Marianne.
With his behavior towards you.
I must acquit Edward from all essential misconduct.
I'm sure he feels something for you.
Even if that is true, there's nothing to be done about it. Edward will marry Lucy, and I truly wish him very happy.
Your way of thinking is so practical that I'm not surprised that you are calm.
I understand. You do not suppose that I have ever felt much. For 4 months, I have known of Edward's engagement. For 4 months, I've had to listen to Lucy's hopes and exultations again and again. For 4 months, I've been unable to confide in anyone. I am to be divided from Edward forever. Nothing has ever proved him unworthy. And I believe that now perhaps he does feel something, as you say. In short, I've suffered from all the punishments of extreme attachments without enjoying any of its advantages. If you ever think me capable of feeling anything again, Marianne, surely you can understand that I felt this loss very deeply. My current composure is the product of my constant and painful exertion to maintain control over myself. I have done my duty, but believe me, I have been very unhappy.
Eleanor, I do not know what to say.
Promise me something, Marianne.
Anything.
Promise me that you won't speak of this matter in the least appearance of bitterness. Speak civilly and discreetly to anyone who may inquire. Yes, even Edward and Lucy. But please!
Yes, yes, of course. I promise.
You have heard, I suppose, of the very shocking discovery that happened under our roof yesterday?
Shocking!
Appalling.
Absurd.
Fanny says she shall never think well of anybody again after being so deceived. I now wish to poor Fanny that we even asked her sisters to stay with us instead of the Steeles.
Why, thank you.
Generous.
Most generous.
Well, may you explain, Marianne? We sent for Edward, but I'm sorry to relate what happened. You see, his mother has promised him his independence just as soon as he simply give up the girl and marry Miss Morton. She even told him that she would settle on him the Norfolk estate, which brings in a good 1,000 a year. But if he chooses to marry Miss Steele... oh, sorry, did I say Miss Steele? I meant the other one. Oh. Anyway, she said indeed that if he ever tries to find any position of some sort, she will do all she can to prevent him from advancing in it.
Gracious God!
Oh, well, may you explain more yet, Mrs. Ferris' generosity. You know, Edward said very little, but what he did say was very unfeeling to both his mother and his sister, who strove with all their might to help him see the error in his ways. He refused to give up the engagement. He stands to it, though, really, it ruins him.
Then he has acted like an honest man. I beg your pardon, Mr. but I have some concern in the business, for Lucy Steele is my relation.
Oh, I do not mean to speak disrespectfully of any of your connections, madam, but knowing the present case, the match is simply impossible.
Well, sir, how did it end?
What is to happen?
Did his mother cast him off?
Is he entirely ruined?
Well, I'm sorry to say that it happened in the most unhappy rupture. Edward is dismissed from Mrs. Ferris' notice forever, and will be disinherited. His mother has explained with a very natural kind of spirit to give it all to Robert immediately.
Thus ends the great Edward Ferrars, the great untrappable rich young bachelor.
And how does he expect to find anyone now that he's not rich?
Impossible.
And Mr. Robert Ferrars is a rich man.
Very rich man.
And very unmarried.
It's a sad situation indeed. Why, I see the natural anxiety upon your faces, but do not worry, there is no material danger to Fanny's health, although she does suffer severely. The angel.
all around. Thank heavens we'll be back in Barton soon. We'll only stop in Cleveland for a visit with my daughter Charlotte. And then we'll be back home again, as soon as we can.
No, I cannot go to Cleveland.
Oh, because Mr. Willoughby has property in the county? Indeed. I think one can see his home from a hill on Charlotte's estate. Oh, am I sorry. But you will never see him again, my dear. I have told Charlotte all about his wicked treatment of you, and her dear husband was shooting like a pheasant on sight. You'll be very safe, I assure you.
It is an excellent plan. We're very happy to go with you.
Eleanor, you cannot expect me to go.
It'll only be for a few days. We may even ask Colonel Brandon to escort us home. Please.
I'll be honored to escort you whenever you wish to leave. Stashwood, I must talk to you about another matter. I've heard the injustices Faraz has suffered and may be able to offer some help.
How so?
It seems Faraz intends to enter the church. The living on my county is vacant and mine to appoint. Would you be willing to tell him that I will name him as rector, if he thinks it's worth his acceptance? I only wish him valuable, but it is enough for him to marry upon.
That is very generous, Colonel, but wouldn't you rather offer him the position yourself?
I do not know Mr. Stashwood. I've only met him 2 or 3 times. And I should think as your old friend, he'd be more happy to hear the kind news.
Miss Ashford, I received a note from Mrs. Jennings that you wish to speak with me.
Yes. Hello. I have something of consequence to inform you of. I have been charged with the most agreeable office. Our dear friend, Colonel Brandon, has desired me to say that understanding you need to join the charge. He has great pleasure in offering you the living of Delaford. Let me congratulate you and to join his wish that may allow you to establish all your views of domesticity.
Colonel Brandon?
Yes, Colonel Brandon has heard of your troubles and would like to help out in any way that he can, as do we all.
Colonel Brandon gave me
The unkindness of your family has made you astonished to find kindness anywhere.
No, I'm sure I owe this to you.
No, you're very much mistaken. I've had no hand in it. Not that I wouldn't have had a hand in it. If I had had a hand in it to give it.
Miss Ashford, when I became engaged to Miss Steele, I was very young and quite stupid, really. Colonel Brandon lodges, I think, on St. James Street.
I believe so.
I must hurry away then, to thank you,
May I give you my unceasing good wishes for your happiness?
and mine for yours. Miss Ashford.
And here we are, Miss Eleanor, Miss Marianne. May I introduce Charlotte, the prettiest of my daughters. Ooh, Charlotte, you've grown so plump.
I'm so stiff from the carriage. I may take a walk around the grounds.
But it's so late. It looks as if it's going to rain.
It is not going to rain. I shall go mad if I do not walk, Eleanor. I will return soon.
At least take your shawl.
Willoughby! A bilious complaint?
father died from the same, you know.
That stock was never strong.
Such a rapid decay, dying of a broken heart.
Molly heard from the cook that the doctor grows graver and graver still.
Poor Miss Dashwood. Poor Miss Dashwood.
Poor Miss Dashwood.
Eleanor, is Mama coming?
Not yet. We have sent for her. It may take some time before she gets here.
If she does go by land, I shall never see her.
Marianne.
I'm too hot.
Doctor, she's not herself.
I should lead her now! No need to do that. Miss Dashwood, you may want to set a man in. I will not have you fighting in here. Yes, and Miss Dashwood, it might be better if your mother came in. Miss Dashwood, do it soon, please.
Is she gonna die?
I must send a messenger to Barton. My mother must come immediately.
With your leave, I will bring the message myself. It'll be faster, and I will bring her back to me directly.
That's unnecessary, Colonel.
Miss Dashwood, give me something to do. I will return me, Mother. Look through it as before 10 o'clock.
Marianne, can you hear me? You cannot do this to me. I will not stand for it. You're being very ridiculous. I'm sorry. I did not mean it. I promise you, if you get better, I'll never scold you again. Please don't leave me here, dearest. Please. Don't leave me alone here.
Miss Dashwood, please.
Your business must not be with me, sir.
How's your sister? Please.
You have no right to ask.
Forgive me, I've been drinking.
What do you want?
I want to make things right, if I can. I want something like forgiveness from Marianne.
Marianne, you must not be so familiar.
Is she in as much danger as they say? Is she dying? It's my fault, I know, but please let me see her.
No.
You know, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't mean to hurt anyone.
I must ask you to leave.
When I first met your sister, all I wanted was an idle dalliance, something to do in the country.
Mr. Willoughby!
I mean, you misunderstand me. I thought that it was only a harmless flirtation. And at first, I thought that surely your sister also knew that it could not lead to anything. I mean, you must see that I could not seriously pursue a girl with no fortune, no station, no, forgive me, but with no notable family. But quite against my intentions, the role I played became the most pressing reality, and I found myself deeply in love.
Did you?
I was going to ask her to marry me.
And what precisely stopped you? You must think me very foolish indeed.
My luck went bad. My cousin had someone been informed of a regrettable connection in my past.
I know your history, Mr. Willoughby.
Yeah, and I can guess what I've told you. And think to yourself, if he is truly impartial. Yes, what I did was wrong. I have never had to touch Jane. But don't assume that just because I was a libertine, she was a saint.
Any weakness on her part is no excuse.
Oh, trust me, Miss Dashwood, I have paid greatly for my sins.
Mrs. Smith pronounced me no gentleman. I'd been sorely disinherited. I had many debts. Should I have gone to jail? My only option was to forget Marianne.
When you left Marianne that day, did you tell her that you would soon return?
I don't know what I told her. I was out of my mind, don't you understand? I had to resolve to forget her entirely.
And you did an excellent job. You ignored her letters, shunned her in public, exposed her to the worst kind of gossip and intrigue. Is this evidence of the great love you bore her?
Everything had already been settled between Mrs. Gray and I.
Then you have made your choice, and now you'll be stand to it. Now goodbye, Mr. Willoughby.
No, I must see her.
Seeing you will endanger her recovery.
Recovery?
Her fever broke last night. She's no longer in material danger.
You have been very cruel to me, Mrs.
As
Dashwood.
have you.
You know, you needn't punish me anymore. You know, I'm unhappy enough.
You must not speak of your wife in that way.
Yeah, I shouldn't, should I? And yet, if ever on thine eyelid stood the tear, that beauty had endangered, drop one here. This man was happy once, but conscience has her part, and writes a doomsday message upon his heart. That's Cooper. The poem.
You really should leave.
I will, before I make you hate me entirely, but do tell me, Miss Dashwood. Will you tell Marianne what I told you here today? Will you tell her that my heart was never unfaithful to her? Marianne is probably lost to me forever, but if by any blessed chance one day I will to be free again...
Mr. Willoughby!
Yes. Well, goodbye. God bless you, Miss Dashwood.
Mr. Willoughby, I do pity you.
Colonel Brandon, I cannot thank you enough. You shall never know how much it meant to me.
If it is not in your position, Colonel, would you stay? My voice is very weak and tired from the stress of yesterday's journey, but perhaps you could read to her. We must make her confinement an interesting one. He loves her, of course.
To judge from his spirits, he does not think there's much hope.
He thinks Marianne's affectionate opinions too deeply rooted for any change. And even supposing her heart free again, does not believe he could ever attach her.
Did you know, Colonel, that Shakespeare writes in a rhythm which matches precisely the beats of the human heart?
Marianne, do you perceive that marriage to Willoughby would condemn you to continual unhappiness?
I suppose my happiness was never his object. But I do not regret anything, Eleanor, except for my behavior.
You don't compare your behavior to yours, right?
No, I compared it with what it ought would have been. I compare it with yours.
Well, you are a goose. Are you tired?
No. The Colonel has promised me to read The Tempest this evening. He's very good.
They want to. I suppose you know that Mr. Farrell is not.
Water.
Marianne, are you ill?
No, I'm fine.
Water, please. Who told you Mr. Ferrars was married, Thomas?
Ferrer's new wife, as Mrs. Steele, I suppose. She was staying with her husband outside at Chase, right outside the New Virgin Inn. And she sends her best regards to the family, especially the son, Ellen.
But she told you she was married.
Oh, yes. She smiled and said that she was Miss Farrow.
Was Mr. Farrar with her?
No, I didn't see her. But I assume he's quite well. She seemed quite content.
Margaret, go in. Pick us some pretty flowers, won't you?
Mama, Colonel Brand is at me.
For tea. Perhaps go and meet him, dearest. We must-
Mama, it's not the Colonel, it's Edward.
What?
It's Edward.
Good God, it is Edward.
I will be calm. I will be mistress of myself.
Sit.
Edward, I do wish you joy.
Ma'am?
I hope you've left Mrs. Farrar's very well.
Rather well, I think, yeah.
And is Mrs. Farrar's in your home in the countryside?
No, my mother is in town.